quorum, so I am so sorry about that. Condolences.
Bitten by the Christmas quorum.
Right? Bitten by the Christmas quorum, indeed. So, we can't take action.
Yep.
All right. And we can. Sorry, Scott.
That's all right.
I mean,
I just get home earlier.
Scott can
We
discuss
can.
it.
We can still talk about
Sure.
it. You know, we won't. Like I said, we won't. We'll still talk about these things. Go over them. We won't make any motions. And we'll just move all these things, all the action items, onto the January meeting.
Was there anything that was pressing that we, would need to call an emergency meeting or?
No. Honestly, the one thing that I do want to update you on, and there was going to be no action on, is the municipal park renovation. So,
Okay.
So if I guess since we're basically workshopping it now,
Yeah, we can
Just go to
get
the
to it.
alleys and the.
well, let's just we can let's see workshop at 12:07. All right. And absent. All right. How about we'll. Do you want to discuss the committee reports at all, or I mean the minutes are in there, or do you guys just want to skip straight to Scott?
Let's just go straight.
All right, Scott, give us the rundown, please, and then we'll take action.
So I gave, everybody's got a copy of this, so this is kind of just the Excel spreadsheet that we keep track of the DDA alley projects. So, we have a 5-year plan, and the 6th year is a bunch of remaining projects that we haven't scheduled quite yet. So, in 21-22, there was one full alley reconstructed, and it looks like 8 approaches. Last year in 2023, 2 full alleys and 5-6 approaches were reconstructed. And so far, the unit prices and costs have come in underneath what we had originally budgeted for all of the alley work to date. The 2024 project is 2 full alleys and 6 approaches. The 2 full alleys are at Lincoln on both the east and the west side of Southfield Road.
Those are on that first page
Yeah.
in the
Oh, the 105.
Yeah, I know.
105, the 101.
They're kind of hard to read. It's 3-01, 2-01 on the second page, I'm sorry, the colored map.
Okay.
Yeah.
I apologize for all the colors. I'm trying to color code these to keep the years together and what's complete and what's not.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So, the alleys, especially on the east side of Lincoln, is in really, really bad condition. And you have a new business, or tenant, or not tenant, business owner there, building owner,
Yes.
who's trying to lease these out. They have resurfaced their parking lot. We're gonna be reconstructing both the alley and the south approach this summer. On the west side, we're gonna be doing the alley and both approaches. And then if you look a little further to the right, 3-03, it's not even a half, it's about a third of an alley that's gonna get reconstructed. That's both in poor condition, and so is the approach is in poor condition. So, is what we're going with this year, these are gonna be reconstructed in concrete. So we're gonna have concrete approaches, concrete alleys. The last 3 years, really, they've been asphalt because they've been piggybacked on the city's paving project, which has been all asphalt. And frankly, we struggle a little bit with asphalt because these alleys are flat, there's not a lot of great drainage, and trying to pave these with a paver has been difficult. So with concrete, you're able to control the grade a lot better because you're forming everything up and pouring it, so.
And the concrete that's a longer
It's
lifespan
typically
generally,
longer, yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
get a little bit more.
You know,
bang
I'm an
for
asphalt
buck.
guy myself because it's easier to repair in the future, but concrete is probably a better product.
And that, I don't know if we've ever really brought this up or not. But we do get, the garbage trucks.
Yeah.
I would think that's just generally heavier traffic than maybe is,
It's probably your worst that you're gonna get through them alleys is the garbage
Okay.
trucks.
Okay.
Yeah.
alright.
And then, as you probably know, we selected the streets south of 696 because next summer, the road commission will be resurfacing Southfield from 11 to 12 Mile,
Yeah.
which traffic-wise, just gonna be, it's gonna be a nightmare next summer. They're going down to 2 lanes. It's just gonna be a lot of traffic. So we wanted to stay as far south as we could. We would like to get this bid out as soon as we can so we can get a contractor out there started early and hopefully finish before the road commission project starts. And I think they're gonna probably start in early to mid-May, so.
And this is, I think what, I was reading, Susie, how we bid or we piggyback on the city's efforts, and we were able to save, you know, fairly substantial amount on the budgeted.
If we move
Price.
it up, right?
Right.
Right.
Why did we come so much under budget for 23? Did we not do something?
No, we, the 2 alleys that we actually had, the plan was to remove all the asphalt and do what we call earth excavation. So remove about 8 to 10 inches of the existing material. When we ended up milling all the asphalt, that material was in really good condition and it was stable. So frankly, we did a little bit of grading and we paved right back on top of it.
Great.
Uh,
All right, yeah, good.
Saved quite a bit of money,
Yeah.
yeah.
Can you refresh my memory on Pacer 1, 2, 3, 4? And
So
their definitions?
Pacer is pavement evaluation, surface evaluation rating. It's
Good
a big
job,
long
man.
thing, but it's
Okay.
it's literally a drive-through, looking at all the defects in a pavement. And then you rate we got a chart from the Pacer Association that kind of tells you if it's alligatored, it's a 3.
Alligator is when it looks
Yeah.
like it's all cracky.
Mhm.
If there's block cracking, it's a 2. If it's like the ones down on Lincoln, it's outright a 1.
Okay, so 1 is
So
the
it's an
worst.
evaluation of the surface defects. You can't see anything, of course, below the surface.
Okay.
And we rate them 1 through 10. To be rated a 10, it has to be a brand new construction and no more than 6 months old. So typically you don't have too many that are 10s unless it's freshly paved.
So nothing that, so the stuff that we paved throughout the city this year, that would be considered a 10,
Yes.
but by next spring it's gonna be
Yeah,
9.
we rate them. Well, we rate the roads every 2 years, and we just finished grading them about a month ago.
Okay.
Okay.
And in terms of the timing, I know you said you wanted to get on top of this or get it bid as soon as possible. Does this month delay us from that?
It shouldn't,
No,
right?
I mean we got plans 90% done. I still got to write the contract documents. The
Okay.
goal would be get out in early January. It'd
Okay.
probably be due mid to late January,
Yeah.
and then to council. I don't know if it's got to go to DDA first, but it would be to council probably in early February.
Okay.
And then there's time for get the contract documents together and get them signed. So, hopefully in early April would be reasonable,
Yeah.
depending on weather conditions.
And when is the 11 mile going to start?
It's moving a little bit. They were looking at mid to late May, but
Was it
they're
May? Yeah.
also, the road commission's done with the plans. They were trying to get it bid out sooner. So I'm thinking early to mid-May.
Okay.
For 11 mile.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on.
And their first stage is gonna be, if I remember, Susie, correct me, is doing the 11-mile in Southfield concrete work, where they're gonna actually shut that.
Shut it down. Yeah.
Shut it down. And that's gonna take them, what do they say? They say 3 weeks, so say 3 to 4 weeks, so.
Okay.
Yeah, they do,
Yeah.
they're gonna do
And then they gotta do
one
the south
side and then
part,
they're gonna
yeah.
do the other side.
Yeah.
And then just from I guess a flow standpoint, I mean, do we know or have we looked at if both are going on at the same time, if it, what the impact of that is, or is it?
It's hard to look at.
Better to
because,
stagger.
when you start getting south of 696, for them to start merging traffic, they're gonna be starting right about Rainbow, which is about where our project
yeah.
ends. So
Yeah.
it should be 2 full lanes up to Margate, then they're gonna start tapering down into 1 lane in each direction.
Okay. Yeah, I could just foresee some, potential issues with
Yeah.
people having to drive through
Why we
specific
kinda wanna try to
neighborhoods.
get in and
Yeah,
out
it's
of
a, yeah, okay,
So, and, I mean,
go ahead.
our meeting in January is, January 19th, right? So I think that should be, it'll be cutting it close for your bid docs, but, sorry. We can make it work.
So just as formality, we're gonna come to DDA to get it approved first, and
I
then
think-
go to city council?
I think probably.
Okay.
I don't know, and I guess this will be a conversation to be had with the new city administrator. I don't know what kind of work, we'll have to talk about paving work with him anyways,
Okay.
right? So, changing of the hats. So, if you
All
think of any additional questions,
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
be,
In that 6th year, you have 7 or 8 alley proposal there, obviously for 700 grand. Is that just those are pacer ratings today that don't require immediate work that we?
It's just ones we haven't kind of put into the project yet. I mean, originally we had all these done in 5 years, and it was
Yeah.
starting to be $300,000 a year, so we scaled that back. I forget what our number was, 2 to 250 a year.
yeah, right around there.
So yeah, we scaled it back, and then, it's 2006/remaining.
It's the
Nothing
proverbial
Yeah.
in the distance, right?
Right.
Nothing saying
right,
we can't pull any of these forward if the DDA wants to fund them
Right,
earlier than later.
okay, yep. So we can,
Well, if you keep grinding it off and it looks great, we might as well
Yeah, I would
pull
Right.
something in. We already approved the
suggest the
budget.
same thing, yeah.
all right.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
if there's
so-
I mean, we can look at a
space.
revised schedule for 25 and 26, and
Why don't we do
Yeah,
that, and then
and bring it
for
back.
the actual action item in January, we'll bring back, a revised schedule that would pull some of these forward, and see what the rest of the board's appetite is for doing that.
I would think it would,
Mhm.
if you fix them before they're ones, you fix them at 5 or 6 pacer, be cheaper, I
cheaper.
would think.
Right.
Starting on gravel maybe.
yeah, some of these 5s or 6s, we didn't even put any dollars to,
Yeah,
because they're in decent
okay, yeah.
condition. Yeah.
All right, well,
But, just,
Right.
we'll have to look through this and try to strategically span these out, because in 25, 696 is getting done,
yeah.
which includes some bridge work, so you're gonna be back down to having more traffic control
Mhm.
issues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's I think a 2-year project, 25 and 26, I think it's scheduled for 696.
Okay, but we haven't had our meeting yet about bridges.
No. I don't know when that is yet.
Okay. Alright. Cool. Any other
Alright.
questions for Scott while we still have him?
No, I don't have any.
Alright,
No.
awesome. Well, thank you.
Yeah,
Sue, for
appreciate
that
it.
Wonderful update presentation. So we'll have that for you. Alright, so, the next big thing I wanted to talk to you guys about is municipal park renovation. So, we know we didn't get the grant. Main Street, Oakland County, and just kind of to refresh, right, we had, the way that application was set up was that, the city and DDA would essentially, allocate a quarter of the funds. Main Street, Oakland County was gonna contribute a quarter of the funds, and then the RAP grant was gonna make up the remaining half, and then there was gonna be some crowdfunding in there as part of our quarter, right? Obviously we didn't get the grant, so that kind of throws all of those numbers a little up in the air. Main Street, Oakland County as a whole had allocated right around $3 million to serve as the match for all 13 communities that were participating in their overall grant. And these were ARPA funds, and so ever since we got notice that we didn't get the RAP funding, their team has been working really hard trying to figure out how
Whose team?
can the Main Street Oakland County.
Okay.
They've been working really hard to figure out how we can, how can they get the Board of Commissioners to say, yes, we're still going to allocate these funds, and this is how we propose to do it. So we've had a couple of kind of strategy sessions with them, and ultimately what they came up with was a 40-60 split, where Oakland County would still provide 40% of the funding, and then the communities would be on the hook for the remaining 60%. And this is still, and that's ultimately what the Board of Commissioners approved, was that 40-60 split, but then they also increased the amount of funding that they were allocating to this project to, I think it's just under $5 million. It's like 4.7, and that backup material for what Main Street Oakland County staff submitted is included in the packet, so you can see exactly how they pitched that to the Board of Commissioners. It's still, even with that 40-60 split, it still challenges and puts some pressure on our budget, right? We still have the DDA has allocated $100,000, the city has allocated $100,000. We still have our crowdfunding goal of $20,000. That's remained relatively. Right now we've got about, I want to say it's about $1,400 that has been donated, plus what we got from the tip jar. So we're right around $2,000 for crowdfunding. There's not been a big push on that lately, just due to the kind of uncertainty of where the funding from all this is going to come. With the revised number for Main Street Oakland County, they're at just about just over $300,000, and then our friends at Giffords-Webster have agreed to do some in-kind design services. So I did have to revise that number a little bit earlier this morning. So, and then
What is that revised number?
that revised number is 5,000. Sorry,
Okay.
I had it.
46,000.
Yeah, I had too many numbers in there. So I had too many numbers in there. So, but so
Still income. I like it.
right, it's still in kind, right? So I have reached out to Snyder Recreation. They're the ones that put in that have provided the design for the play structure, and she and I have a meeting scheduled for next week to discuss how we may be able to scale the play structure
Well,
back
let's
a little
let's
bit.
finish that thought. So you're 280 grand gap, right? 285,
Yes.
something like that.
Yep.
And there's about 100 grand of matches there that are potentials, but we haven't even started on those yet. So.
The second one, the GM Match on Main, I managed to get that application together and out at literally 4 minutes to spare the other day.
Okay.
So that announcement should be made. I think they said sometime in January, so let's call it January, February. So there's some potential. Additional grant funding that might help us kind of defray some of these costs.
Okay.
I know there is the DNR grant. There's the trust fund grant and a recreation passport grant. The next funding cycle, just saw because they just announced their awardees. Their most recent awardees a couple weeks ago, or within the last week. So their next grant cycle will be coming up. I think it's in spring. That won't necessarily line up with. It won't necessarily line up with the rest of the timing, but it may lend itself to to phasing of the project, right?
So then, just to be clear, then that 282, 283, the plan, and again, assuming we get the 2 other grants, the 100,000 is what? To, to pay the 282, to make up that difference?
Say it again.
To make up the 282, where are we looking at that we just,
Oh,
gonna
to
have
make
to
up
budget
that-
for that, or is it, what is it?
To make up that, I mean, I think that would, I think that would put a strain on our budget, quite frankly, to, if we were, if the DDA were to try to absorb that 282, I mean, that would certainly eat into, any future alley and, approach work we would wanna do. It would kinda eat into what we have, kinda like asterisked in our fund balance for the additional pedestrian crossings and investments into the Southfield Road corridor. I think that the grant, like the $100,000, if we're successful in getting those and bringing our gap down to 183, I still think it would be a wise move to try and scale back on some of these, some of what we're doing.
Yeah,
To
I
make the
agree.
project work.
Yeah, absolutely, because frankly, I think the $20,000 crowdfunding goal is probably ambitious.
Probably, right?
So- So yeah, we don't want to get stuck with the big check, to write.
Can you resend the details of the project?
Yeah.
Like these are kind of top line, items, but like what's involved with these, so we can kind of get a better sense if we do have to scale back.
Yes,
what we cut.
yeah.
Right. And I say this knowing nothing about construction costs, but the parking lot reconstruction costs $357,000. Does that sound reasonable?
Mhm.
It does?
It does. I do. And Scott and I have talked about it. The original estimate that we had, and included in the RAP grant, it was a bit higher because we were going to have to meet what's called Davis-Bacon requirements, wage requirements, because it's federal funding, right? And there's a certain threshold for how contractors are paid, right?
Okay.
Now that Davis-Bacon doesn't factor into, even though the ARPA funds are federal funds, ultimately there is, within the parameters of that funding stream, the feds have said, don't worry about Davis-Bacon, because it adds a whole nother layer of fun, right? So we will not be beholden to Davis-Bacon. So that's one reason why we were able to kind of scale that cost back. We do have.
What happens to the Main Street money if we scale it back? Doesn't that get reduced then too, or?
Well, and that's something that we did bring up in the last meeting with Oakland County. We said, well, a couple communities have said, all right, we appreciate that you've looked into how we can do this. Even with this 40-60 split, we're not going to be able to absorb that cost, and thank you very much, we're going to bow out. And so we have asked the county if they will kind of reconsider what that split is. Can you bump it up to?
No, I
maybe
guess what I'm
50-50
saying is,
and-
let's just say we decided, we're not doing the play structure, but we have to do this lot. It's 400 grand. They're not gonna give us 300 grand. right?
Probably not.
Yeah.
Probably not.
So it's just a ratio of what they give to what we put up.
Right.
Yeah.
And what we're saying is the pot, that pool of money that we're dealing with has to, you said it's ARPA money, so this money has to go back next year? Or in
2026.
26.
2026.
In 26, so if other people bow out, other communities that is, then, presumably that pot of money is still sitting there that has to be used, so.
Right.
that's
Well,
what
and
that's
but
what you're
that's the
getting at, right?
county. At this point, that's the county's money too. So if we were to bow out, because this is a placemaking grant, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's really the entirety of the project is what helps make it the place. I don't think the county would be
Yeah.
super thrilled, super wouldn't be in a agreement that, you know, reconstructing the parking lot isn't necessarily a placemaking,
I would argue
Yeah.
that.
right? I mean,
So,
I would support you
Can I
on
get a
that,
couple
'cause,
lines
like,
out there? Anything just to make it better.
Maybe we like.
I'm pretty sure I'm gonna get a ticket every time I pull in there, because I'm like, I think I'm in a handicap, I'm not really sure.
yeah.
You know, it does need TLC. I mean, Scott and I have talked about it before. Like, what do we do about, you know, do we reconstruct it? Do we repave it? I mean, it's what,
It's
25,
30 years old.
30
at least
years
30.
old.
Yeah.
We have done a very good job of getting all of that money that we previously
Yep.
spent on that out of it, right?
Sure.
But we, you know, I mean, there's always the option to say we'd rather, you know, resurface it. I don't remember what that number is off the top of my head. Do you happen to remember?
No, I don't.
It's it's less than the 357, right? So I mean, there's an option to save. I don't think that necessarily that's where we want to. And it's in pretty rough shape, but but we have asked the county to maybe reevaluate how funds are, if other communities are bowing out. I mean, that should open up additional funds.
Yeah.
And, you know, will they explore allocating it differently or taking it back to the commissioners to redo that split? So, I just
And
really,
once again, the soonest you think we would know what their decision would be is it this year or?
no, we did talk about that. There would have to be an application process, right? Like, they've already made it clear to the commissioners, like, these are the communities that we want to use, but, you know, they need a paper trail as well, right? So there'd be, you know, a bit of a application process with them. Probably work on executing grant agreements, spring, like late winter, early spring, to make sure that projects shovels can be in the ground by, you know, late spring, early summer to make these things happen. So, so that's just kind of where we're at. I will be reaching out to everyone who has donated in the Patronicity campaign. Just say, hey, this is kind of where we're at. I do want to give them the option of, I mean, right now the Patronicity campaign is set to expire at the end of December. I'm planning to adjust that and extend it out again. But also give them the option, like contact those individuals and give them the option to say, like, yes, keep holding on to my money, or not. You know, I feel like that's the most fair thing to do. And just kind of make sure that they're aware of where we're at in the process and the project.
You know, with respect to the parking lot reconstruction, I mean, you know, that cost isn't going to go down, you know, in the future. Have we looked at financing options for it?
I have not looked into financing options yet. I know that I know you brought up bond financing before, and I mean, maybe this is starting to be something that we need to look into as a DDA. Maybe that's how we accomplish the remainder of our approaches and alleys and do some, you know, some of that stuff. But I'll try and pick Pam's brain before she leaves.
I didn't see that current interest rates might not be the best though.
Right.
Wait till they come down a bit.
Yeah, well, you kind of look at that versus construction costs.
Yeah,
you know,
going up.
they're going
Yeah,
up,
it seemed
and then
that
how we can.
happy
And there's
medium,
there's
isn't it?
certain ways, depending on how it's structured, where it you know, might not cost as much as we think. But I think it's, you know, worth at least exploring.
Okay.
Get somebody to vote a bond and just pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Or we could just go back to gravel.
Gravel for the parking?
Yeah.
You just said that.
They just graded my road today and it looks marvelous. So I think I was the second one to drive on it. Crap by the end of the day. So Anyway, so that's all I've got on that one. There's,
All right.
keep plugging along, so,
Right.
but,
Yeah.
and otherwise, not related to the park or alleys. We're saying goodbye to Pam on the 20th at her retirement party. I hope you guys are all gonna be there.
This is my last
Help us
meeting.
knock
calendar.
out
I know this
is-
is your, and we didn't get to go through the report or anything. This is the
meeting.
last.
Well, I mean, we can still go back because this is just a workshop. You want to lay it out?
Yeah.
for
Oh,
us,
you just
Tammy?
really for your last one. Is there anything
Yeah, why
that
not?
sticks out? I
Sure.
mean, give us.
No, right now, the audit report's going back to the council on Monday. When the auditors brought us the council report originally, they found out that they used one of my reports that didn't have the budget amendments in. And so they didn't think we did any budget amendments last year, so it kind of made the figures different. So they gave us a final budget, or final audit report now. So, and I just got that yesterday, so that is going to council on Monday, so.
From the
Plant Moran.
from Plant Moran, they
Mhm.
gave you the
Yep.
report yesterday.
Yep,
Okay.
the final.
The final report.
We have the final report and it is
It
going to
included the
council on
amendments.
Monday. Yep,
and-
including the budget amendments that they didn't have originally, so.
Okay.
So, and you guys are in good shape.
All
I
right.
mean, you still are in good shape. The DDA is,
Seems like we were under budget for a few,
you know,
major projects. So,
So that'll be on
Yeah.
January's agenda.
all right.
Anything else you want to say to the board since this is your last meeting?
well, thank you for having me on the board for 23 years.
Wow.
I know. And I'm gonna miss you guys. I like this
Yeah.
board. This has been a good board, so,
We
Yeah.
appreciate all your efforts, so.
well, thank you.
Certainly appreciate all the work and yeah, I don't know how we're going to replace you,
I
or
don't know
if
how
that's
they're gonna-
even, or how that's yeah, where we are in that process even, right?
The new manager, I'm putting out I am right now, working on the job description to put out for the new manager, so,
Okay.
he will be starting, your new manager will be starting on January 3rd. His contract is going to council also on Monday,
Okay.
but he's already scheduled to be here January 3rd, so.
Okay.
So we're gonna be overlapping, but I did, he was in here yesterday, we have talked about things and that, so, I will be, at least for a week or so, I will be talking to him about different things, so,
Yeah.
that, to keep him up to date in that, so, but they would like to get the job description out there once again. We
Yeah,
also
absolutely.
sent out an RFP for accounting services to
Yep.
kind of keep that in case they, can't get somebody in here as quick as they'd like to on the finance part, so.
Yeah, I was going to ask how. I know this isn't all DDA, but that transitionary period. It's always when I've seen in other places where the transition between someone who's been here as long as you and that kind of institutional knowledge and be able to transfer what you were doing to someone else. It can be difficult with someone, even somebody with talent. To come in starting off cold to kind of
Right.
just pick up where you left off.
Yeah.
So good. At least I'm glad that's happening. And again, I'm sorry to see you go. Yeah.
It's time.
Yeah, I
23
understand.
years, it's
I
time.
understand.
So.
I understand.
Stop smiling, Pam.
It's been a back and forth thing with me, back and forth, but
Mhm.
Yeah,
it's time.
A long time.
yeah, it's time.
Good.
You want to hear
If
from
there's
anybody
anything
else?
Is there anything else?
Britt?
Good.
Hey,
Hey? Anything? No?
Just, for me,
Oh,
we run the,
Code enforcement?
for the businesses, when I ran the report, it put a lot of the residential stuff in there, so just review from the last time you guys met, a lot of the ordinances and violations that I've sent out are focused on disposal of garbage, parking lots and maintenance, dumpster enclosures. And most of the dumpster enclosures are either violations of not closing them, not being able to close them, not having four sides. Maintenance of culverts, we've had a couple outstanding issues there. And then most recently, working without a permit, in the commercial district. So I think the, focus for 2024 would be, again, licensing with some of our partners that our lawsuit's now over, so we can get into some of those buildings and do some proper licensing. Also signage, making sure proper signage is up in our businesses and the code enforcement for that. And continue with parking lot maintenance. We have some parking lots that aren't marked properly, or I'm still working. I have not wrote a ticket yet to any commercial owner, but I'm really close because I have for the residential side, but the businesses I try to work with them, try to work with their timeline, try to be as long as I'm getting a response. But some of them are dragging, or I'm not getting any response. So probably start writing some tickets and try to force the hand of the legal part of compliance.
Sure. Great.
Yeah.
I guess one last thing, when he mentioned signage, do we have any other activity in the sign grant?
No, I am waiting
Uh-huh.
for a couple of, no new activity, I should say.
Okay.
I am waiting for a couple, follow-up documentation for reimbursements for, Hope for All Seasons logos, right, up at Charlotte's, and then, 44 Burrito, right, so I just need some of their reimbursement documents. But right now, we're kinda holding steady. There have been new signs that went up that they did not apply for grant funding, so.
Or
Uh-oh.
permits.
How
They-
bad are
I
they?
said, or
Oh no,
permits.
the signs themselves are rather attractive, but it's like what Rob was saying, some work without permits,
Permits,
etc.
yeah.
Yeah.
So but those were not part of the grant program.
Okay.
So, but that is definitely one of those funding mechanisms that we have that's been quite popular over the last
So I
last
think
little bit.
one of the things I miss is, licensing wise, 44 Burrito, it should be 1,000% approved on Monday. So she's got her last fire inspection. She had a couple of outstanding issues with the old hood and revamping, because a lot of she went and really revamped the inside, and it is really nice. Was very impressed on the aesthetics, especially from the counter out. It's cool. She's got a lot of things like I seen in California, like your little photo spot. She's done a really nice job there. Papa's Pizza is probably about 90% ready to open, and then we had Sam's Shoes, open, and we're working on some permitting issues there, but that's
What-
another new.
What is that, a shoe store?
Sam's
The shoes, yeah. So it's
Renovation
right next to.
has
Yeah.
expanded.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
but it's actually a separate owner, and his name's Sam too. So
Oh.
it is. So it
Just
is
kinda
It is a different
All of the
owner, but
Sams.
they opened the wall up in between the two businesses, so you can go from the suit shop to. So working with them on some permitting issues, and we'll get there.
Excellent.
Great.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, well, happy holidays, everyone.
Yes, happy holidays.
Thanks,
We'll see you guys next week, probably, for a little bit.
yes, I hope we see you all. Pam's parties, 4 to 7, downstairs in the community room. Be ready to rock.